What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you for Tuesday, April 29th. This is Better Off Dead. I'm on a nice win streak here, man, with the playoffs rolling in NHL and NBA. Won 10 of the last 11 days, I think. 10 of the last 11 have been winning days. Hopefully, we can continue it today. Being pretty selective again today. I skipped the NBA yesterday. I will have one NBA play tonight. I'll be skipping NHL tonight. NHL, just some big favorites. We'll talk about it, but I won't actually have a play. And then I do have a few MLB plays. Last night, just to get through it quickly, I mean, all the wins were close. It was a 3-1 night. We had Baltimore. Was the first one that finished. I think that was a win on the Baltimore Orioles. It probably would have been better if I just did the first 5 innings in that one, because a lot of it was the starting pitching matchup. But, of course, I mean, you have to weigh the starting pitching matchup fairly heavily. You want to try to make sure that you include the bullpens in the handicap. Baltimore's bullpen did almost blow it, though. They were winning 4-0 in the 7th inning, so it should have been a real easy win, and it wasn't quite that easy. But they did still get there, winning 4-3 as an underdog. It was the right play, so we did hit on that one. Florida Panthers, or actually, I guess, St. Louis Cardinals lost. That was the one loss. 3-1 loss. Every game was close yesterday, man. That game, they scored in the first inning and then never scored again. Just unfortunate. I mean, what could you do? That was a loser. I liked that one, but then we did have the Florida Panthers. That was the next one that came through, and that was a roller coaster, man. It's Florida. Again, I think they were the better team in the game. They've been the better team in the series, but they were winning 1-0, and then they fell behind 2-1, giving up 2 goals in an 11-second stretch. And then it was 2-1 for a long time until there were like 3 minutes left in the game. It came down to the end, and then Florida returned the favor, and they actually scored 2 goals in 11 seconds to take the 3-2 lead, and then they scored an empty net at the end. But roller coaster, but I'll take the cash on that one, baby. I'm now... what am I? I think I'm 8-2 now in the NHL playoffs. Is that right? No, 9-2. I think 9-2 is right. I'll have to go check, something like that. 9-2, and NBA I stayed off yesterday, so 10-1, I think. And then we did win on the Oakland A's, another 1-run win. That was another one where they were winning most of the game, but it was a 2-0 game for a huge amount of the game. Then it was 2-1 going into the 9th, and I believe Texas did have a runner on second with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th, but the A's were still able to close it out, get it done, 2-1 win. So I'll take it, and we'll move on to today. Rolling into today, baby. We'll talk about the NBA, because I got it up here. Why not? First game up is at 6 p.m., because the television schedule makers are trying to stagger all these a little bit so that the games don't overlap as much, although they will still overlap to some extent. Pacers-Bucks, this series shifts back to Indiana with a 3-1 lead. So it does appear that the series is over, but I might have some hesitations on playing the Pacers in this game. They are up from 5 to 7.5 now with juice. 68% of tickets, 75% of the cash on them, although the public at this point is only going to be on the Pacers for a multitude of reasons. And one is that they've won 3 of the 4 games of the series by margin, although the Bucks did win. The one game I actually bet on was the game that the Bucks won, and I got that one right as well. I bet on the Bucks in Game 3 with that good 0-2 return home spot there, and they won that game by margin. Now what we have here is this line continues to creep up, now to 8. I think this line is just too high at this point, man. I don't think you could really lay it with the Pacers, and there are some question marks here. Now, one of the main reasons why the line has moved like this is because Damian Lillard is now out. He had returned after missing game 1. I believe he played the other games in the series. He had I think it was an issue with a blood clot, which is insane that he was playing. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was actually like a muscle issue. I don't know what it was, but now he has another injury. I don't know what the injury was, but he's just never healthy, man. This Bucks team, if you're a Bucks fan, I mean, it seems like you're cursed at this point, as he is now out for the remainder of the postseason with that injury that he suffered in that Game 4 there. And the Pacers wound up winning that game, running away with it. I think winning it by at least double digits. I don't know what the final score, what the margin of victory was in the end, but man. So now the handicap really is going to be Do the Bucks just roll over, or do they actually show up one last time here? That is the question. I think that because the line has moved to some extent just because Lillard is out again and the books have to account for that, I think that, the value is obviously not in laying the points of the Pacers. Just the question is, are the Bucks just such a defeated team now that they don't show up? And I'm not entirely convinced that that'll be the case. Like, we saw that with Miami against Cleveland, I think last night, right? Miami just had nothing left, right? So we did see that be the case. But we saw Memphis, even after that huge blown lead, I thought they were going to be a dead team, and they actually showed up and played really tough in their elimination game there. So I could see this going both ways, man. You know that when you have an injured star player, a lot of times the team will step up one last time and play really well for that injured player. I don't think the Bucks are going to win this game. I do think the Pacers also, they have motivation to win this game because they don't want to have to go back to Milwaukee again here, but it is an elimination game for the Bucks, and you are giving them a lot of points, extra points. You don't need the Bucks to win the game. You only need them to cover the spread, and it does look like the money has completely flipped now, and is actually, now that the line has gone past, like through the 7.5, 7 being a key number in basketball, because it is the threshold where teams stop intentionally fouling when it's a 3-possession game. Money is now coming back in on the Bucks, 69% of the cash on them, 67% of tickets on the Pacers. So again, I'm staying off the game. Neither result would really surprise me in this game. And the total has gone way up from 210.5 to 222. It's kind of strange to see the total go that far up when Lillard is out, and he is a really good scorer. But I wouldn't really agree with playing overs in this series just in general, really, because both teams play fast, and the Pacers especially aren't very good on defense. And the Pacers, if they control the pace, they're very appropriately named right now. They play really fast, and they're at home, so they're probably going to want to do that again, push the pace, and try to tire out this thin Bucks roster. And like I said, unfortunately for Bucks fans, man, 3 years in a row, they've just had star players injured in the playoffs. Giannis not able to get healthy, and now Giannis is healthy this time, and their other guys can't get healthy. It's just very unfortunate for them. Pacers probably win this game in advance, but I am not convinced that they actually cover the number here. The next game up, 7:30. This is the game I actually have a play on, and it looks like it's kind of a fade the public situation, despite it being a play on a favorite here. I'm going to lay the points with the Knicks here, 5.5. It does look like it's going up towards 6, so you probably want to get this before that happens. They're up from 4 to 5.5, bordering on 6, which I still think is a pretty good number because if you remember the first 2 games in the series, the Knicks were favored by like 6, 7 points, 6.5, 7. So I think there was actually even a little bit of line value here, and the situation I think is good for the Knicks, even though the Pistons, they've been pretty competitive in the series. They're competitive against the Knicks during the regular season, but I just think this is going to be the end of it for the Pistons, man. I think the Knicks' experience has been too much for them, and I just think this is too many blown leads for the Pistons. We see here the public actually likes the Pistons because the games have been so close in the series. 66% of the tickets look like they're on the Pistons, but the real money is coming in on the Knicks, and obviously I agree with it. 81% of the cash. Pistons, as we remember in Game 1, they had a big lead in Game 1, and then they had that stretch where they didn't score in the fourth quarter for 6 minutes, and they only scored like one more basket or something, and the Knicks scored 21 unanswered points. That is brutal. And then the Pistons actually still overcame, they still bounced back from that, and they actually won Game 2 at New York, which, by the way, the fact that the Knicks lost the last game in this building, I think is even more of a motivating factor for the Knicks, because a home team like this, it's the home favorite. You usually are not going to see them lose multiple games on their own floor like this in a series like this where they're the better team with more experience. And coming back home like this after playing a couple of road games, knowing that you lost your last home game, you do not want to have to go back to Detroit. You're going to see a motivated Knicks team here, in my opinion, for sure, for all those reasons, especially because the last game they played here, they lost. Knicks won both games in close games on the road. And again, I kind of liked the Pistons, especially in the second of those 2 games. Kind of leaned to them in both games to some extent. First game, the Knicks actually had the advantage in most of the game. The Knicks were ahead most of the game, in Game 3, I should say. And then they almost blew it. The Knicks almost blew it. Still won by 2. Then the Pistons, in game 4 was a roller coaster, man. The Knicks had a big lead early, and then the Pistons completely erased the deficit, and they took the lead, and they looked like they were going to win. They had a big lead late in the game. They were still winning with, I think, like a minute and a half left to go. They were still up by like multiple possessions, I think, and they wound up losing the game anyway. It's just brutal, man. I just don't think the Pistons are going to have enough left in the tank after that. Too many close losses after such an effort in that last game to make that huge comeback. You think you're going to win the game, and then you still wind up losing in the end, and losing on a controversial call. I just think the Pistons are going to kind of be in heartbreak mode. I think the Knicks are going to be able to get it done here. Knicks also do have more depth than the Pistons do as well, and the better coach. Even though Tom Thibodeau, I know there's been some turmoil there. The Knicks have kind of not lived up to expectations, and people were kind of calling for his firing. But I think as long as they win this series, I expect that that's not going to happen. But I don't know what else I was going to say about this, but the controversial call at the end of the game 4 there. So I think that actually helps the Knicks as well here, because there are people saying, oh, well, the Knicks didn't deserve to win that game because of that no foul call at the end there where the Knicks had the lead. The Pistons took a 3. It was a pretty bad 3, man. It was a well-defended shot. Not expected that shot's going to go in unless you're Larry Bird or something. I forget who it was that took the shot, but the Pistons, yeah, I mean, they had to take a shot, right? They had to take a prayer shot there. I don't think it was a foul. I think it was pretty good defense there. I think as a referee, you don't want to decide a game on that anyway. I don't think there was really that much contact. I think it is a proper no call in that one. You let it slide, you let it go, but a lot of people complaining about that no call there, saying the Pistons, they should have gotten 3 foul shots or whatever. I don't really think so, but I think that's going to kind of spark the Knicks even more here, because people are basically saying they shouldn't have won that last game, and it's going to make the Pistons even more disappointed because they were just that close. So give me the Knicks. It looks like an anti-public favorite, and when you got the better team being the anti-public side as a home favorite, definitely is a decent way to look, and I've been doing that in the playoffs. As you've noticed, even though, I'm a contrarian player, I play lots of underdogs usually, but that has not really been the case in the playoffs here. As you notice, I've played a lot of favorites in the playoffs, and it's worked out for me pretty well. So hopefully that continues. The next game up is Magic Celtics. Celtics return home up 3-1. Celtics got it done for me the other day, even though it got a little bit dicey. They still won and covered. Celtics down for 12.5 to 11.5, so they're favored by a little bit less than they were in the first couple of games, where they were, I believe, 13.5 in game 1, where I was in attendance. I won't be going to this game tonight. I mean, elimination games just very expensive tickets, so I'll hold on to some of my money and see what I can do as far as going to one of the games in the next series, assuming the Celtics put this series away, which they should. 56% of tickets, 57% of the cash coming in on the Celtics. Drew Holiday is now questionable after missing the last 2 games. Seems like he may actually play, so you might be getting actually even a little bit of value on the number with the Celtics here, as ridiculous as that sounds, because the Celtics only covered one of the 2 games at home, but I think that might have the Celtics a little bit more focused because they didn't really put in their A game in game 2 in this series the last time they played on this floor. They had some fairly close games on the road, so I think the Celtics might actually show up focused in this game. They don't want to have to go back to Orlando either, so they should be focused. Obviously, I expect them to win the game. Covering a large number like this is a different story, though, and obviously I'm not going to lay that many points with them. The total's also way down, as it's been very low in the series, but it looks like the cash percentage discrepancy there is actually on the over, which is kind of interesting. Maybe feeling the line's been over-adjusted, but Celtics, I mean, I expect they probably will have their entire full lineup tonight. Drew Holiday, questionable. I mean, if he can go, he probably will go, and in a closeout game like this, I think the Celtics are going to try to have all of their starters playing in this game, so that is what I would expect there. I expect them to get it done, like I said. Don't know if they're going to cover, though. Andre, what's up, man? Good to see some new faces here. Thanks for hanging out. Actually, let me know where you guys came from. If Nephilim Death Squad sent you over here, if you're finding me from some of my other interactions, because I interact on the in the comments on the Wager Talk channel as well quite a bit, because I love following those guys over there. Probably the best channel for free betting information. So good stuff, man. But thanks for hanging out. And then probably the best game of the night is the Clippers Nuggets. Of course, this is the most competitive spread. This has been a competitive series, a 2-2 series going back to Denver. Clippers have flipped from a 1-point dog to a 2-point favorite. So the line move looks very similar to what happened in game 2, which the Clippers did win, but it was a close game still. I believe the Clippers won that game, I think, by 3, maybe, something like that. So they won and maybe barely covered in that game. Nuggets look like they're getting some public action because the public always reacts to what they saw last, man. And by the way, I misspoke. I accidentally said that it was Jokic that got the game-winning dunk in the previous game, but it was Aaron Gordon, not Jokic. But Aaron Gordon, with that dunk there, I still don't even think it was actually good. I still think there's some money going on here in the NBA, or I think the NBA, they want a series like this with star players like Jokic and Harden in there. They want the series to go like the full 7 games, man. I think there is some of that going on there. I think the NBA, a little bit of rigging going on there once that game got close. So the Nuggets actually had a big lead in that game, and I think really just took their foot off the gas. So it got way too close for comfort, obviously. It almost wound up going into overtime. So I could see that going multiple ways, but maybe that's going to kind of light a fire under the Nuggets' ass here. So I'm not totally convinced the Clippers are actually going to win this game at this point. 62% of tickets, 63% of the cash on the Nuggets. So it looks like public on the Nuggets, but with the line being a little bit over-adjusted maybe in the direction of the Clippers, maybe the Nuggets, maybe the feeling is that maybe there is some value on the Nuggets. Maybe some of the professional money seems to kind of think that way, just as a numbers play there, but that was the thought in game 2, and the Clippers still got it done. Clippers were actually the better team in, I think, both of the games in Denver so far. In game 1, Clippers had a big lead, and they let that one slip. So really the Nuggets were only the better team in game 4, interestingly enough. Game 5's obviously the other way to look is towards an under, and I wouldn't disagree with looking to an under, but the books know this, and they've adjusted that down too. So in these closely matched, tied series like this, you tend to get a lot of defensive intensity in games 5, if it's a 2-2 game, and game 7, 2-2 series, I should say. You get a lot of focus on defense, intense defense, but this is a series where the total in game 1 was in the 220s. Then we had one in the 2 teens, so those are the other 2 in Denver. So this line is adjusted down like 16 points from where it was in game 1 on the same floor. And it's down like at least, I think, 9 points from where it was in game 2. So I think it's a little bit over-adjusted. The total was lower in the games at LA, but it was still like in the 210-something range, 2 teens. So the books, again, the odds makers know that these 2-2 games tend to be low scoring. So even though I agree with an under, I don't know that going under a total that's this low, you're really getting that much value on it. But, I mean, it certainly could happen. I believe the last game only reached 200, so it certainly could happen. You could get some intense defense in a game like this. So it's definitely a tough read here. I did pick the Clippers to win the series in my bracket, and obviously the team that wins this game here is pretty likely to win the series, I would say. So again, we're going to see what happens here. I'm not going to have my money on this game, but that is the Clippers and Nuggets there. I don't even know if I have that much of a lean on the side, to be honest, because I have like conflicting thoughts on the side too. So, I mean, the Clippers, the odds makers are telling you the Clippers are the better team in the series, and maybe they do have like kind of that coaching and continuity edge there a little bit, and maybe they're going to be a little bit angry after not playing well in the last game. So, debatably, maybe a little bit of a zigzag there. So maybe a slight lean to the Clippers, but not a whole lot there. Not a strong feeling on that at all. You hope the Pacers put your Bucks out of their misery. Yeah, it's very unfortunate, man. That sucks. Didn't realize that you were a Bucks fan, man. So I mentioned the Bucks fans have just had it really hard, and we get a Bucks fan in the chat, man. And you guys have Doc Rivers, right? So the coach that led that single season turnaround for the Celtics and got us 1 championship there. He's a good coach, but, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do when you just have a massive injury issue every year. Not a whole lot you can do with star players injured all the time and just not being healthy. All right, over to NHL. This NHL slate, man, I'm not going to have any money on this. A lot of the games, I mean, 3 out of the 4 have pretty large spreads here. The first game up is Ottawa-Toronto. Toronto's up 3-1 in the series, and I believe they lost game 4 at Ottawa. So after that, I do expect Toronto probably bounces back and closes this out. I mean, they do not want to have to go back to Ottawa for any more games here, even though it's a short trip. I think Toronto gets it done. I mean, they're the better team, especially offensively. They have a lethal power play, which is really their one huge advantage here, even though Ottawa does have pretty good goaltending. But Toronto, down from -170, -169. They are hugely public with 95% of tickets, 98% of the cash. I'm not going to have my money on this, but I do agree with Toronto, and I actually think maybe they should even be a slightly heavier favorite here, even though Ottawa has actually played them pretty competitively in the series, so I don't quite want to do it. But I think that Game 4 was kind of Ottawa's like all-out type of game there. When you have a series that's a bit of a mismatch like this one is, usually that like lesser team will have one huge game where they go all out, and then a lot of times they won't have a whole lot left after that. That might be the case that Ottawa is in. That might be the situation Ottawa is in. Carolina is a huge favorite. The biggest on the board here is that series is 3-1 Carolina, and that goes back to Carolina. Carolina up from -255 to -262. There's no doubt they're the better team here. New Jersey, they did get that one game in Game 3 at home, but I think they're going to lose this game. I think it's the end of the road. New Jersey has not won at Carolina all season. They lost both regular season meetings, lost games 1 and 2 of this series. Carolina should get the job done, but is it worth laying this price? Probably not. 87% of tickets, 96% of the cash coming in on Carolina. As I've said, if you do like a home favorite like this, there are some other ways you can play it. You can play that team to like go over their goals total, though you're probably gonna have to need them to score about 3 goals in the game. You can play them to win in regulation to knock the price down, although with a price like this, you're probably still laying about -170, something in that range probably on Carolina, but that is a way to get it a little bit cheaper. For Toronto, it might knock them almost all the way down to almost a pick-em price if you do that. But, of course, if you do that, just remember they need to win in regulation, and you'll lose the bet if it goes into overtime. But it is a cheaper way of playing these like big favorites like this. Or, of course, you can play the puck line and lay -1.5, and then you need them to win by 2 goals. Gets a little bit dicey in hockey, so we will see. And then Minnesota at Vegas as we get into the later night action. Vegas up from -213 to -220. Vegas, as I keep saying, they're the better team in the series. I think Minnesota's overrated. I think this might be the end of the road here, man, as Minnesota got 2 games in the series, winning both of those games 5-2. I lost money on one of those. I told you I thought it was misleading, though. Like, both those results I thought were a little bit misleading. Vegas was able to get the job done in Minnesota in Game 4 in a close game in overtime. And with Minnesota winning the 2 previous games and then having that game go into overtime, I think Minnesota might not be in a great spot here. Having to travel back to the Pacific time zone to Vegas doesn't seem like a very good spot for them after they put in huge efforts 3 games in a row. I expect Vegas to clean up some of their issues, man. It's 3 games in a row they've had bad defense, bad goaltending, and they still won one of those 3 games. So they still should win the series here. They still have home advantage. They got to get it done at home, though. I think they're going to be motivated to do so. They are a big favorite, though, up from -213 to -220. 73% of tickets, 91% of the cash coming in on Vegas. Still lean to the Vegas side there. And then Edmonton, LA to close this out. This is a 2-2 series. And even though it didn't work last night, both of these series are 2-2, actually. Minnesota, Vegas, Edmonton, LA. Even though it didn't work last night at all with the Dallas, Colorado game. Didn't play it, but as I've said, just like in basketball, same thing can apply to hockey. If you have a 2-2 series or a Game 7, a lot of times there's a lot of defensive focus, defensive intensity, so a lot of times you do want to look towards unders. The public is kind of on the over in both of these games here. Edmonton, LA, of course, though, has a higher total because Edmonton is involved in the game, and they score a ton. LA is probably going to want this game to be lower scoring, though, even though I know they won Game 1 in a higher scoring game. And I won on LA in that game. I won on Edmonton in Game 3 going back home, as that was a good spot going back home down 0-2. Again, just like in the NBA, same situation applies. Now that we're going back to LA, I do lean to the LA side here. They're up from -120 to -134. 66% tickets, 87% of the cash coming into them. In LA, they have been much, much better at home than they have been on the road. So I think they do have actually a more significant home ice advantage than most of these teams do. And it's a little bit of a far trip for a team like Edmonton. You got to move over one time zone and go way down south. So LA, I mean, the home team has won every game in the series so far, and that may continue here. My only issue is that I do kind of think that Edmonton is still the slightly better team. And the way that Edmonton won that last game, LA had they made a huge comeback. Or no, LA had the lead in that game, I think, right? LA was winning that game by multiple goals. I think Edmonton had a huge comeback. And then LA wound up losing the game. I think it might have been in overtime. So you have a game like that. I mean, that's going to kind of take a lot out of you. Although it could take a lot out of Edmonton as well. So again, I could see this going both ways. I mean, the money is coming in LA. 66% of tickets, 87% of the cash, up from minus 120 to minus 134. I think I already said that, but slightly lean to LA just because I do think the home ice advantage kind of is the deciding factor there, but it's not going to be a decider for me as I just won't play the game. Trying to be selective here, and then we got Major League Baseball, so I got to zoom in on the schedule here. Going to try to run through this quickly. Minnesota, Cleveland, these two teams played yesterday. Minnesota blew out Cleveland yesterday. So, in a way, you probably expect Cleveland to bounce back from such a horrible loss. But I believe Cleveland did use a lot of their bullpen yesterday. So, yeah, they used a lot more of their bullpen as Ober got really deep into the game for the Twins. And again, I keep saying I don't understand all the hate from both the public and the professional bettors on Bailey Ober. I think he's a good pitcher, so don't understand that. But this pitching matchup, you got to give the edge to Cleveland here. Chris Paddock has never really panned out so far from Minnesota. He's not a very good pitcher. Tanner Bibby, even though he has bad numbers, I mean, we know what he is. He's had two really good full seasons with Cleveland, so I expect his numbers are going to turn around. So I think Cleveland is the right side, but because they used a lot of their bullpen yesterday, Cleveland first 5 inning might be a way to look in this game. Just play on the starting pitching matchup only. The money is pouring in on Cleveland, though. They're up from minus 130 to minus 154 on the full game. 77% of tickets, 95% of the cash coming in on them. So there is money agreeing with the Cleveland side there. And again, I would want to avoid the bullpens there just because of the lack of bullpen rest. Baltimore got it done for me yesterday against the Yankees, but now they're having to bring Kyle Gibson back into the equation. Baltimore, I mean, he might actually not even be that bad for them, really, because some of their starting pitchers have been awful. I mean, Charlie Morton looks like he's got to retire at this point. He's got to just pack it in, man. So I don't think that Kyle Gibson is even a downgrade from some of these Baltimore pitchers. I don't know who he's replacing in the rotation here, but he's not good, but it might be a little bit of an upgrade. But Gibson's going to have to get used to pitching again because he hasn't pitched yet this season. And I think it's just because Baltimore, I don't even know if he was injured. I think Baltimore just thought that they had better pitchers in the rotation than him, but they don't. And he is back. He may be able to do an okay job here, but I think he actually does have okay numbers. I mean, he's a veteran. Like, he at least, has the, he does have like kind of the, he does have the experience behind him, let's say. And he does actually have really good numbers against the Yankees. And 83 at bats, a 181 batting average allowed. So Gibson may not do that badly. Carlos Rodon pitching for the Yankees. I mean, he gets a lot of crap as well. He had fairly poor start to the season. A few bad starts in the mix there, but he's really turned it around. He's not that bad of a pitcher, man. As I kept saying, just look at his other numbers. He's not that bad, but Baltimore's kind of had his numbers. They hit 314 off him lifetime with a 1,008 OPS in 35 at bats. So I would be a little bit worried, even though the Yankees should be in a bounce back spot. Baltimore, I believe, did use more of their bullpen yesterday, or maybe not because it was a close game down the stretch. Yankees do have the better bullpen overall, though, but I think the starting pitching matchup, maybe Gibson will even be a little bit excited to get back out there and actually pitch and start for a major league team again. His career not over yet. Maybe wants to prove something. So I'm actually not convinced that the Yankees are the right side in this game. The money maybe has come in on them a little bit, but they're massively public, just like they were yesterday, right? I took Baltimore yesterday, thought it was a trap line. This line, of course, is a little bit higher because Rodon is better than whoever their pitcher was yesterday, Will Warren. But Rodon, again, his track record against Baltimore, not that good. By the way, Tanner Bibby, I think I brought it up in the wrong window here, but Bibby has held the Twins to a 179 average, 550 OPS lifetime. So if you're playing on Bibby to start pitching better this season, I mean, his history is good against Minnesota as well. So I do think he has the edge there. Next game up is a game I do actually have a play on the total in Cubs-Pittsburgh. I'm going under 8.5. I think 8.5, I think it's kind of a high line, man. And this is not in Wrigley Field, so it's not going to be one of those Wrigley Field wind blowing out type of games where when the wind blows out in kind of close quarters like that, it leads to a lot of home runs and stuff. That's not the case here. Both teams had yesterday off, so you got rested bullpens coming into this, so that's a good part of the handicap here. So the bullpens should be well rested coming in here, so that helps the pitching in this game. Pittsburgh, I think their hitting might be affected negatively as they're returning home from a road trip to the Pacific Coast. So that's kind of a negative spot. A lot of times your bats kind of slow down a little bit when you return home from a road trip. It tends to be a lack of focus spot because you're getting back to home life. You have family life to get back to, and a lot of times it does affect your offense. So that's going to be part of the handicap as well. And, of course, this is Pittsburgh's offense we're talking about, who isn't even good anyway, and they have to go up against Shota Imanaga, who's basically the Cubs' ace here with a 3.18 ERA, 1.09 whip. Very, very good pitcher. Very impressed with what he did last year. This year, I mean, he's been a little bit wild. 27 strikeouts, 12 walks, but he hasn't allowed very many hits, 25 and 34 innings. He's had a couple of bad outings recently, but I expect him to bounce back, man. I mean, one of those was the most recent outing against the Dodgers. Still had 6 strikeouts in the game, which wasn't that bad. He didn't even really allow that many hits in the game. He got tagged for 3 home runs, which is really kind of skewing his numbers there. The home run ball's got him. He's got to get that back down, man. He did allow 2 against Texas and then 3 against LA, but both of those were in Wrigley Field and may have been some of those might have been like bad wind conditions in those games. I'm not sure, although Imanaga used to pitching there now. But Imanaga, I mean, he's a good pitcher, man. At this point, he's got a full season under his belt. He knows the deal. He's good. He had a good full season last year. I expect him to be even a little bit better this year. I expect him to bounce right back from that loss. I'm not going to really give him I'm not going to knock him very much for that game against the Dodgers, especially. I think he actually limited the damage given that he allowed 3 home runs. It could have been worse. So I expect Imanaga to bounce back from this. And against a much weaker lineup, he's stepping down in class after facing a Dodger lineup. Now he gets Pittsburgh. And against Pittsburgh, lifetime in 30 at-bats, they only have 5 hits, no extra base hits, 9-2 strikeout walk ratio, 167 average, and 385 OPS. So Imanaga has really limited the Pittsburgh hitters completely. He's pretty much completely dominated them. Then on the other side, Andrew Heaney is pitching, and he's having a good season for Pittsburgh so far. I expect him to regress a bit because he's not this good, but he's also pretty decent. 1.72 ERA, 0.77 whip. Yeah, I mean, that's unsustainable, but he is good, and he's got a 31-6 strikeout walk ratio so far this year with only 18 hits allowed in 31 1/3. That's pretty good. That includes dominating the Yankees, which he does actually have really good history against the Yankees. Had a pretty decent start in Great American Ballpark, which is not easy to do. And now he's coming off 2 straight shutouts, including a 1-hit performance in 6 innings against Anaheim, although their lineup has really started struggling. 9-0 strikeout walk ratio on that one. So this is telling me he's on it right now, man. He's got focus right now. His pitches are working right now, so he's in good form right now. And against the Chicago Cubs, even though their lineup is good, they have 38 at-bats off him lifetime. And yeah, they do have 3 home runs, but 2 of them are Justin Turner. One is Kyle Tucker, and it's the only hit he even has against, so he does have 7 walks, which is a little bit alarming. The 9 walks and 6 strikeouts is a little bit alarming, but it's really 2 guys that do all the damage. So, I mean, those guys are only going to see him so much in this game. And even including those guys, it's a 184 batting average, although a somewhat high 788 OPS. But I still think you're getting 2 good pitchers here in good form. I like the under in this game. You're going to need both lineups to probably be doing something to get this thing done. I'm a little bit worried the money looks like it's kind of flipped the line here from 8.5 juice to the under to 8.5 juice to the over. I don't like that, but 65% of tickets, only 55% of the cash coming in on the over. And I think under, if Imanaga's on the hill, under usually is going to be the way that you want to look here. So I am going to be in the under here. It does look like the cash percentage is still in agreement with me. Don't like that the line is moving against it, but under 8.5 is where I'm going with that one. St. Louis, Cincinnati. I mean, Miles Mikolas has terrible numbers against Cincinnati. May not fare well in Great American Ballpark either. Brady Singer, new to Cincinnati this year, but he's the better pitcher overall. He has better numbers against St. Louis as well. So probably would lean to Cincinnati there, even though they did also win yesterday. I think that's probably the way to look, but they do have 77% of tickets, only 69% of the cash coming in on them, so we'll see what happens there. Washington and Philadelphia. Now, Washington played yesterday, although they did get blown out by the Mets in an embarrassing 19-5 game, and that was a game that was like pretty close into like the 5th, 6th inning, something like that. I think it was like a 2-2 game or something somewhere in there. Massive amounts of runs scored late in that game, especially from the Mets. But it does mean Washington did play yesterday, so they're at a rest disadvantage because Philadelphia did not play yesterday. Mackenzie Gore, though, he's really starting to take off. He might actually be something good, man. 3.34 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, a ridiculous 53-9 strikeout walk ratio in 35 innings, only 31 hits allowed and 53 strikeouts. Almost unheard of to have a strikeout rate that high, even though it's not that many innings. But even through that amount of innings, that's pretty crazy. Against the Phillies throughout his career, he hasn't been as good. I mean, the Phillies hitters are pretty good. 158 at bats, 272 average, 777 OPS. So it's kind of average numbers. But Mackenzie Gore looks better this year than he has in any of his previous seasons. So he might really be figuring something out and turning into a pretty good pitcher, man. And Zach Wheeler, on the other hand, we know what we're going to get out of him for the most part. He's the ace of Philadelphia's staff. He's got a 50-8 strikeout walk ratio, 30 hits allowed and 37 in the third inning. So actually really similar numbers there to what Gore's been putting up, which is pretty crazy. And against the Washington Nationals, 173 at bats. He's dominated them for the most part. 49-8 strikeout walk ratio. Well, I don't know about domination, though. A lot of strikeouts, very few walks, 243 average. All that's really good, but he has allowed 9 home runs to them. But 7 of them are spread out between Bell and Ruiz. So the other guys don't hit him well at all. 748 OPS is actually still fairly low given the fact that he's allowed that many home runs to them. So the long ball has been kind of a problem, but other than that, he's been good as well. So, I mean, I could see looking towards an under here, but I don't want any part of trying to deal with Washington's bullpen, man. It looks like the cash discrepancy is on the over here. With Philadelphia being this significant a favorite here, the line might actually be kind of like maybe overvaluing Philadelphia a little bit, given the fact that Gore has been so good this season. You might be getting a little bit of value on Washington. I would not want to have anything to do with their bullpen, though, especially after they played yesterday. So if you do want to try to grab some value with Washington, I would only do it in the first 5 innings, and I would completely eliminate the bullpen from the equation. But you're dealing with Zach Wheeler on the other side, so I don't love that either. I will stay away. Kansas City, Tampa Bay. You got Lorenzen and Taj Bradley. And these guys, this is just a matchup-specific lean here, even though Lorenzen has a terrible whip, 1.45, indicating that his 3.9 ERA should be higher than it is. He's putting way too many men on base. I think a lot via the walk. But against Tampa Bay, they're only 1 for 11 off him lifetime, even though they do have 4 walks off him. So pretty good numbers, an 0.91 average and 515 OPS. And then on the other hand, Taj Bradley has actually completely handled Kansas City. His numbers are bad this year too, 1.38 ERA, 5.08 ERA. I think he'll get a little bit better because we've seen him do better in the past, and I was kind of expecting him to start doing even a little bit better this year than he did last year. Last year he was okay, so I don't think these numbers are going to remain that bad for him. Against Kansas City, he has done well. Like I said, they're actually 0 for 19 off him with 7 strikeouts and no walks, which is crazy. So nobody in Kansas City's lineup has ever even reached base against Taj Bradley. That's completely insane. So the lean in that game would be to an under. That was close to making my card, actually. 83% of tickets, only 81% of the cash. The line has gone down a little bit less juice coming in there. Neither team played yesterday, I don't believe either. So do I want to add that one? I mean, I'm a little bit hesitant because I don't trust either starting pitcher fully. So I guess I'll stay away. But that game, it does look like an under. Boston, Toronto, I would lean under as well. I mean, you got Garrett Crochet against Bowden Francis. I mean, not much to say here. They're both good pitchers. They got some good numbers this year, and they both have good numbers against the opposing lineups. So that's a pretty easy way to look at the game, although you're looking at going under 7.5 there. Maybe a little bit dicey, and the cash percentage is actually coming in the over, so a little bit of hesitation there. Next up, I do have a play in Arizona on the money line, plus 124. I like this spot, man, because the Mets played yesterday, and they have just looked way too good. I mean, they looked They lost 2 games against Washington, though, but they did put up 19 runs yesterday and 7 runs the day before that. So the public is probably going to want the Mets here, and I do not at all. Arizona had the day off yesterday, and they're leaving home with a little bit of momentum after they finally broke that losing momentum. They lost 4 games in a row, finally won a game against the Braves, and now they're going out on the road to start a road trip. So I think it's a good spot for Arizona. They have a day off. They get to focus on baseball, carry momentum out with them, while the Mets had to play yesterday and scored a ton and looked way too good. Looks good for Arizona here. People are not really going to want Eduardo Rodriguez. His numbers are okay. 4.4 ERA, 1.29 whip. He was on, I believe, the 2018 Red Sox championship team. He's got good numbers this year, though, man, for the most part. 34-7 strikeout walk ratio is really nice. High strikeout rate, not a lot of walks. That tells me he is pitching well. He's commanding his pitches well. He is fooling hitters. And up against, who are we going up against here? Against the Mets. Even though the Mets have been a good team, 55 at bats worth. He's on to 164 average and 428 OPS. So Rodriguez has really good numbers against him. So I think you're getting the advantage in the starting pitching matchup, plus the rested team, the team that's in the better situation, and the rested bullpen there. So, yeah, we're going with Arizona, and Arizona can hit as well. So, I don't think there's that much of a difference between how these teams can hit. David Peterson for the Mets, on the other hand, his 3.29 ERA, just like last year, even though I know he was able to continue having his ERA be actually pretty good, but 1.43 whip is terrible, man. You cannot put 1.5 guys on base and continue to have an ERA this low. It just can't happen. He's walking too many guys. He's giving up a few too many hits. Just too many men are getting on base, even though the strikeout number is pretty good. He is striking guys out, but he's a little bit wild. And against Arizona, he has not fared well. They hit well, and in 41 at-bats, they got a couple homers off him. They got 7 walks compared to only 5 strikeouts, 341 average and 998 OPS. So there's a big disparity in the pitching matchup here. Peterson, I think, is worse than he looks, so a little bit of a misleading ERA on him there. His numbers against Arizona are horrific. Eduardo Rodriguez does a lot better against the Mets. So that's the way we're going there. Milwaukee, Chicago. Milwaukee's a massive favorite, but they do have a huge edge here with their best starting pitcher going with Freddie Peralta. Bryce Wilson is going to be facing his former team in Milwaukee, but all you're going to get out of him is an opener type of start there. He'll go a couple innings, and his numbers aren't even that good this year, and the White Sox suck. So, but it's still, you want to lay that much of a price with a road team in Milwaukee, and their bullpen sucks? I do not. The A's have Jacob Lopez pitching, and he's coming out of the bullpen, I think, to make a spot opener start there. So I'm not going to trust him either. Jacob deGrom, obviously the veteran starter, has a big advantage there. I think even if the A's are going to be mixing and matching pitchers to try to throw Texas off a bit, Texas is a huge favorite for that reason. I'll stay away. My final play is another total, and it's an under. I play a lot of unders, man. You know the drill. Detroit, Houston, I like the under in this one, even though these teams did play yesterday. So I'm a little bit worried that Houston did use a decent amount of their bullpen, although a couple of those guys threw few enough pitches that they might even still be available. Houston's bullpen has just been good overall, so I'm not too concerned about it. You just got to make sure you get these starters are going to get you deep into the games here. Reese Olson for Detroit, he's starting to turn his season around, as I said he would. Coming off a really nice start with 7 strikeouts and 1 walk against San Diego at home. Detroit is definitely better at home, but still. Reese Olson, 3.29 ERA, 1.24 whip, not bad. Houston, only Paredes has ever seen him before, and he does have a 2-run double off him, 1 for 3, but Houston's lineup hasn't even faced him before, so you get a good young pitcher in Olson, and the hitters haven't even seen him before. I think that's an advantage to the starting pitcher, and I think that's the same on the other side for Ryan Gusto on the Astros. Even though he doesn't go that deep, they're letting him go a little bit deeper into games here. He might get you about 5 innings, hopefully save their bullpen a little bit, but he's been effective while he's pitched. Nice 23-4 strikeout walk ratio there. 2.78 ERA, 1.1 whip. And, of course, Detroit has never seen him before either. So he's pitching pretty well. He's effective, and the opposing lineup hasn't seen him either. So that's an under. You can get it under 7.5 there. And looking at the market there, It's dropped from 8 juice to the over to 7.5 juice to the under. So money is coming in on the under there. 50% of tickets, 81% of the cash. Atlanta, Colorado. I don't even know who's pitching for Atlanta here, so very hard to handicap that, although Marquez is pretty terrible. Anaheim, Seattle. I mean, Jack Kohanowitz, I think he's gonna start getting better again. He's a young pitcher that not a lot of hitters have seen, although he's really bad against Seattle in a limited sample size. They're 6 for 8 off of him, which is ridiculous. So the money is coming in on the Anaheim side with Seattle being a huge favorite, but I don't want to touch Kohanowitz in a spot like that. And you're getting Bryce Miller at home for Seattle, where he pitches a lot better, and he's got better numbers against Anaheim. Not going to do it. And then I do lean to the under in the Giants-Padres game, which is in Petco or whatever it's called now, which is a good pitcher's park. But you got Logan Webb against Nick Pivetta, man. They've both been really good this year. The problem is their numbers against the opposing lineups they're decent enough that I would look to the under. I mean, they're pretty good numbers, but they're kind of in that mediocre range. And the total is 6.5. And you know me, I will go under 7 because 7's a key number because you need to hit the 7 to break the tie in baseball. But 6.5, very difficult to go under that 6.5. But I do think it could be an under game. And both pitchers have been doing really well this season. And then Miami, LA, we don't even know who's pitching for LA at this point. Although Alcantara, I think, is probably going to get better for Miami. He has good stuff. It just he hasn't returned to form since coming back from having injury issues. So that's going to do it. Tower Gang Toad on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang. And go find the Bro Grove tickets, man. Bohemian Grove. The tickets are out for Patreons only, and they will be out to the public on Friday. Peace out, guys.